How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And today's video, I've kind of been waiting to try and I've been excited about showing this video because I think this gene that we're going to be discussing is quite exciting. It's not really been looked at in true depth, so hopefully we can show you some stuff today which will bring you guys some excitement and probably a little bit of controversy, maybe. Anyway, today's video, the Splatter gene. The Splatter gene was founded by Chris Jones Reptiles. You can go to Chris Jones's website. It's still active, even though Chris has left the hobby. You can go to his website and read all about the Splatter gene. The Splatter gene was crazy for Chris. Dare I say, he got a lot of stick in the early days regarding people saying it was a normal, so he had to prove them wrong. Prove them wrong he did. From the Splatter gene came the migraine, which I believe and many others believe it is cryptic or very similar to it, but we're not going to talk about the migraine today. I genuinely love the migraine and the Splatter projects, but we're going to talk and look at the Splatter. Now, on your screen now is a single gene Splatter. I've hatched quite a few of these this season, and as you can see from this video footage that I took, the single gene Splatter is very dark. It almost looks cinnamon enchi in colour. Now, when you breed a cinnamon and enchi together, it kind of looks a little bit like that, but it's not a cinnamon enchi, which can easily confuse a lot of breeders, especially if they're working with cinnamon and enchi in the Splatter project. So a single gene Splatter looks pretty much like this. This is across the board. I've hatched probably about 3 or 4 of them this season. My migraine projects haven't really gone to plan this season, but what I've hatched has certainly created a lot of or answered a lot of questions for me, and I've had to go back and re-ID the animals that I got from a breeder because they were kind of ID'd wrong, which is easily done. So let's look at the Splatter in general. There is a super form. I'm going to pull out a super form, and I'm going to show you a few adults as well, and we'll go through the whole process. So first of all, let's show you an adult Splatter. Obviously you just saw a hatchling, but let's look at an adult Splatter. And this female here, I actually proved out not het migraine, but actually het exantic. But the Splatter, as you can see on this big girl, gives you these sort of crazy speckling down the side, which then turns into the main splatters that we've seen, or the hatchlings that we've seen. So this is an adult female, proven breeder female. Like I said, as you can see down the side, hopefully you can see the splatter, what Chris labelled as the splatter. All these splatters are white coming up, as you can see there. So this is a single gene het exantic. We don't know what exantic line yet, but we're getting that tested. So this is not het migraine. This is just het exantic. The shed test has come back, so yeah, that's again a single gene Splatter. So what I'm going to show you now is a super Splatter. We're going to keep this simple. I'm going to show you a few bits and pieces. We're going to keep this simple. So this here is a super Splatter. Now, if you look at this animal, as you can see, we've still got the splatter, but the actual coloration has changed. It's gone from like a dark looking animal to a very bright and vibrant looking animal. So now we know that the Splatter gene is actually a color enhancing as well as a pattern enhancing. So the pairing to this was a super Splatter migraine, and I'm going to show you that now, to an enchi Splatter het migraine, or posset migraine should I say, because out of 6 babies I hit no migraines. But what I did hit was 1 normal splatter, because again I've had to go back and redo all my animals because the IDs are all wrong. So the male is actually a super splatter migraine, which I'll show you him in a moment. Out of the 6 eggs, I hit 1 single splatter and I hit 5 super splatters. So I'm just going to show you this animal here. As you can see, the super splatter tends to widen the eye stripes. If you look at the side, there is no enchi in this, and I'll show you the enchi version. This is just a straight super splatter, and again you can see all the splatter coming up the sides. What the splatter does as well, you can see on the neck, it sort of joins up the pattern. Not sure if you're going to see very well on the neck, joins that up, and as you can see, the pattern as well looks very you know, it tries to cross over the dorsal. So the neck reminds me a lot of puzzle, and what I've noticed since I've started hatching super splatters is I genuinely believe that potentially out there people have got puzzle, but I think there's also splatter or another gene, whatever you want to call it. I think Sean back in the day over Exotics by Nature was calling it Atari. This could be the weirdo gene as well in its raw form. I need to speak to RZ, but he's been off cruising the world, as you've seen on his Instagram, lucky bugger. But as you can see, this is very puzzle-esque of an animal, and what I've seen on Morph Market is I've seen a lot of puzzles out there which is, you know, they're doing nothing wrong, it's not intentional, that I believe is not puzzle. Yeah, I've put it out there, I've said it, I'm not trying to damage the puzzle project. There is puzzles out there, it is a recessive, but I think people, what they've done is when they've got into the puzzle, they've also picked up this other gene, this second gene, which is an incomplete dominant. Over here it's called the splatter, and as you can see there is a super form, and it does look very puzzle like. And again, if you go on Morph Market and have a look for yourself, you can clearly see that potentially people may have super splatters and not actually puzzles, which is great, because if we have got an incomplete dominant like this, there is so much we can do. Now this is 100% het migraine as well, but I'm going to show you an animal that's not 100% het migraine, which I think will convince you that a lot of people would look at this and go, oh yeah, that's a migraine, it's not super splatter. Trust me, the mom was not het migraine, had the shed tested, came back negative, but as you can see, we have got an animal. It is 100% het because the dad is a super splatter migraine. The mom was an enchi migraine, sorry, an enchi splatter posset migraine. But let me get its sibling out and you'll see what enchi does. Enchi kind of gives it a different color, but it takes away a lot of the splatter look from the belly. So let me get the enchi version. So this is the enchi version here. So hopefully you guys can see the difference. If I bring them in side by side, you can see the enchi really changes the color. We've got more peaches coming through than we have on the super splatter. So this is an enchi super splatter het migraine, and this is just a super splatter migraine. Okay, now you'd think automatically with it being enchi you would have a better head stamp. Well, you kind of don't. Yeah, the head stamp, it kind of looks enchi, whereas the super splatter, it's almost like the super splatter has got a better head stamp in my opinion. But the enchi brings in some fantastic colours, which I want to pull this down here, and again you can see this sort of neck striping coming in, and you can certainly see the super splatter is trying to bring the pattern over the dorsal. Okay, now again, remember the enchi, as you can see, is fighting the super splatter and trying to get rid or smoothen the splatter out down the sides, but you can still see that it's a super splatter. So this is an enchi super splatter het migraine, and this is just a straightforward super splatter. Now I'm going to show you the dad to this clutch, and hopefully it will be explained a bit easier. Before I show you the dad, I'll show you another sibling. So this sibling is no Enchi. This again is just a straight super splatter, and it almost has like that sort of hidden gene Woma sort of coloration, like the golds coming up over. But again, look at the head. There is no Enchi in this particular combo. You just saw the Enchi version. This has no Enchi. We don't have any peaches coming up. We've got full-on splatter in progress again all along here. So this is another super splatter, and again look at the neck, very joined together like so, but a fantastic animal. Again, very it reproduces itself pretty easy for people to see the difference between a super splatter and a splatter. A super splatter is completely over the edge, as I call it, whereas a splatter is a great looking animal. So yeah, really excited about the splatter stuff. Let's look at the dad that made this clutch. So this is the actual father to that clutch. This is just a straight super splatter migraine, and as you can see, it almost looks very Desert Ghost looking. As I said, the migraine and the super splatter together will amplify the colors, and you'll get this sort of crazy looking animal where it's very clean. But again, you can see the super splatter coming up, and again, if you look, it's a visual migraine because we've got an amplified sort of head pattern. Now, a lot of people will argue and go, Gav, that's super Enchi. Trust me, it's not. It really is not. I'm going to show you an Enchi super splatter migraine in a moment. So what I'm trying to say is, again, if you look at the neck pattern, you can certainly see it's very puzzle-esque, if you like, but the migraine is really amplifying the head. So the super splatter for me, I believe, and again, the migraine is recessive, it is a lilac with clown, it is a type of cryptic, let's say, or krypton. Well, it's cryptic, not krypton. But as you can see, this animal here is a fantastic looking animal. I mean, who wouldn't want to work with that, you know? Just a fantastic animal. This guy's going into shed, but you can certainly see he's pretty bright, pretty vibrant, and he's got that fantastic head stamp. While we've got him out, I will show you the dad that made the next animal I'm going to show you alongside this one, which was an Enchi super splatter. There is no migraine. Well, it could be het migraine, but the mom that made the first clutch was not migraine. But I'm kind of glad, because we can take the splatter now and put it into the clown stuff, which is fantastic. So let's have a look at an Enchi super splatter. So again, look at the color difference. I know this is a migraine. This animal here is an Enchi super splatter, het exantic. And again, look at the head, very similar to the babies I showed you, very puzzle-esque. If you look at the neck, again, the stripes all joining together, and again, the Enchi is trying to fight the splatter coming up the sides. This is proven as well, guys, so there is Enchi. This is definitely an Enchi super splatter, and this is definitely a super splatter migraine, no Enchi involved. Again, proven animals, so it's not like we can argue. It is what it is. Super splatter migraine, super splatter Enchi. But as you can appreciate, the recessive version in this, the migraine is really amplifying the head and the colour, and then you've got the Enchi changing the colour palette and not giving it such a defined head, obviously, because it's not a recessive. This is a incomplete dominant with another incomplete dominant. This is a super splatter with the Enchi. So this here was made by the Enchi super splatter And this guy here, as you can see, is Exantic, so we proved out the mom and dad to have Exantic, but this is just a straightforward super splatter. And again, you can see why we've got that typical head. There is no enchi in this at all, and again, you've got that sort of puzzle-esque neck coming down with that sort of banding. You've got the super splatter coming up the sides, clear belly. This guy, try not to light me up. Show you the tail. So this is a super splatter Exantic Posset migraine. His clutch is going off to be shed tested, or has, should I say, and we'll test that via the cryptic test. And as you can see all day long that it is a super splatter. Again, the super splatter coming up the sides, trying to go over the dorsal, but a very fantastic animal. And this is a boy, so we can definitely use him to try and prove out some females which are Posset migraine. This female here, again, you've probably seen me post this on my social media. This originally was thought to be a super enchi migraine, but it's not. It is actually a super splatter migraine. Now, it doesn't look like enchi's in it, even though we've got this crazy head stamp. I do believe there's fire in it, but again, we're going to be testing this for as many genes as we can, i.e. any of the codoms that's available to us. And again, you've got that sort of typical neck pattern coming down from the migraine and the super splatter. And again, you've got the super splatter trying to come up over the top, and you've got, you know, you can see it on the belly, you know, we have got some super splatter markings. So this animal is still a little bit of a conundrum. We're not sure. Only way to really test it is to keep it simple and breed it to some simple animals, not muddy the water. But you can certainly see what you can do with the super splatter in the migraine project, which I really do love. I love the migraine stuff, but I'm super excited about the splatter stuff, that the fact we can take this now in a completely different angle, and it is an incomplete dominant because we've got a super form. So yeah, I'm excited about this. So let me see if I've got any more. There's a few that could be out of shed. If not, we'll look over some other stuff. So here we have is potentially a enchi fire super splatter migraine, and yeah, it's having a real fight, almost paradoxing look to it. But I've produced some of these as babies. In fact, I might still have one here which we can have a look at, which are absolutely amazing. But again, neck pattern joined together. Again, the super splatter coming up, trying to reach the dorsal, and the fire and the enchi sort of fighting their way in there. So this is going to be a really interesting project for us to look forward to and work with in the future. But again, more breeding needs to happen for us to be absolutely certain with animals like these, just to be absolutely clear. And if we can genetically test them, we will as well. Let's have a look at the babies. And again, I've proved these animals out that we've been talking about tonight. So it's not something that I'm not, you know, I haven't proven out. I've bred the animals. Some of them have been shed tested, but you can see this is a fire enchi super splatter migraine, and I just think this is amazing. You know, I just think this animal is absolutely, it's cooking, absolutely cooking. And again, we've got this beautiful fire sort of blushing coming up. Again, we've got the super splatter coming up over the top. We've got the neck stripe. I mean, look at that head. That head is to die for. It is just epic. So there was no super enchi. The pairing in this, there is no way we could have made a super enchi. So we know this is not super enchi. The only genes involved were splatter, migraine, enchi and fire, but neither of them could make a super other than on the mum and dad, because the dad was a super and the mom wasn't. The mom was just a normal splatter animal. In fact, she's an Enchi fire splatter het migraine, and the dad that went to this was the super splatter migraine. So hence why we've got super splatter, Enchi, fire, and we have the recessive migraine. Just look at that. Guys, let me know in the comments box below, what do you guys think of the splatter? What do you think to the migraine? If you were in the project, which way would you take it? Like I say, I do believe there is people out there with puzzle stuff which actually isn't puzzle, it's actually super splatter. And again, that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's probably a good thing. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's not been too controversial. I love the puzzle project. I've got some animals myself. But it's going to be interesting once we get the genetic shed testing to see if said animals are puzzle or not. So we'll see. But for now, guys, hope you're all well. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and also subscribe. A sub to the channel would be absolutely amazing. But for now, guys, take care. I'll see you guys on the next one.